January 18th, 2022, we'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you all for being here this morning. We'll move on to the minutes. Does anyone have any questions, changes for the minutes of January 4th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 4th.
Motion made by Commissioner Delight. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Review and approval of the agenda. Is there anything that needs to be added or subtracted, Administrator Kelly?
I do not have any items.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda as presented.
All right.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Vetch, seconded by Commissioner Delyden. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
The consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to remove for further discussion?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Ketchmark.
Yes, under letter A, number 1, the authorization to issue the payment to MCIT for discussion on the Wright County renewal, letter A.
All right. Anything else?
No.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with item A1 removed.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Ketchmark. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Commissioner Ketchmark.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. And I saw the printout of the invoice and talked with Administrator Kelly, and I had a question with the 1.4 million approximately that will renew our insurance, how that changes over last year, and if there's any big changes with moving to a new campus and new buildings versus the old buildings with, I would think, less risk.
Sure. Yeah, we did have a brief discussion this morning. Board, this is our annual renewals, both for property casualty as well as work comp. In addition here, you also have that wetland appeal board that we're a part of. So I did have Tim Dahl join in the call here as to try and fill in some of the gaps a little bit as well. It's kind of a challenging situation as we move from the builder's risk portion of insurance onto that building coming on board with us. Certainly like any other building with a new structure, a new facility, it's going to be rated a little more favorably. I didn't have the opportunity to pull what that number may or may not be as we take it on at this point. So I don't know, Tim, do you have anything you'd like to add at this point?
No, I think that's a great explanation. The bill is combined, if you will, the 1.4 million that was referenced. The property insurance, that also includes obviously buildings, vehicles, all the other tangible assets at 869,000. I believe that represents over $200 million in insurable assets. As Administrator Kelly had mentioned, there will be a period of time where we'll have coverage on the new facility, the older facilities as those get decommissioned. The insurance is on it's prorated, meaning by paying for this renewal, if we drop coverage, we will see a refund on that. This is just basically the snapshot because of the turn of the year. So hopefully that may help. So it's no different where, if you or I to buy, a house or a car and then later on sell it, your insurance company will make those adjustments. Relatively speaking, if we were to go out to the private market for these rates, I would expect the renewal to be either 2 or 3 times this amount. Because we're a part of the trust, us and the other 81 member counties, we pool our resources together to have a really cost-effective way to spread the risk out.
Okay. Thanks for that explanation, Tim. And just in fairness, I didn't have a lot of time because yesterday was a holiday, so I ended up last minute this morning in the last hour trying to follow up on some of these things. That's the challenge of a holiday on a Friday or a Monday, but I'll follow up with staff later this year when we actually move and see what the numbers look like exactly when we move into the new building. So, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, Commissioner Leiden.
are we currently paying for the new building, or is that under a different policy right now?
Yeah, the new government center is currently on a builder's risk policy that we had paid for. That will transfer to the MCIT property coverage when we receive the certificate of occupancy. So this number reflected does not have the premium, if you will, on the MCIT schedule for the building. We did or have included all of those factors within the budget. So these are all budgeted expenses. And as a result of our pretty proactive and aggressive loss control program, we are somewhat receiving a discount, if you will, overall on rates because of the proactiveness of things that we do versus, if you have a car and you keep getting into an at-fault car accident, they keep raising those rates or eventually dropping you. So I kind of wanted to clarify that. It's almost like an algebra equation where there are multiple levers that have an impact on the rates versus just, having something insured. And I'm happy to have whatever discussion with whoever to kind of explain how this works, why it works, things we can do, go from there.
All right, thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the item 1 under administration A.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Ketchmark, second by Commissioner Leiden. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That item is approved. All right. So moving on to our 2022 board reorganization. And we have all the list of committees. Before us, we have our regular committees and our advisory board. I do have one correction that I noticed, I guess, before we move on with all of them, but under, and I don't have a page number, but Central Minnesota EMS Region Joint Powers Board, our names are flipped, so I'm actually the delegate, and Commissioner Ketchmark is actually the alternate, so I didn't, that's the way it was approved last year, so somehow our names got flipped. But going through, do you want to go through each one, or is there any one that you'd like to call out?
Madam Chair, I think just from last year, going through it the first time, it seemed nice to go through one at a time. And
Okay.
no changes, move on. If there is, then discussion.
All right, sure. All right, we'll start with Budget Committee of the Whole. That's all commissioners, administrator, auditor, treasurer, finance director. Building Committee is Commissioner Ketchmark, Wetter, Vetch is the alternate, also Facilities Director. Dental Clinic Steering Committee, that's Delyden and Wetter. Ditch Committee, Combined Committee to Inspect and Joint Ditch Committee. Delyden, Ketchmark, Hewsome is the alternate, plus the commissioner from the district being addressed shall attend if not part of the committee. Joint ditch meetings will require 3 commissioners. Finance and CIP Committee, Vetch, Delyden, Administrator, Assistant Administrator, Auditor Treasurer, Finance Director, Assistant Finance Director, and IT Director. Noxious Weed Appeal Committee, Delyden and Ketchmark. Nuclear, Vetch, Hewsome, Wetter's the alternate. Administrator, EMS Director, and Emergency Management Deputy. The Owners Committee, the New Government Center, is Vetch and Delyden. Personnel Employees Relation, Delyden, Vetch. Ketchmark is the alternate and the HR Director. Assistant and Assistant Administrator for Union Negotiation. For Deferred Compensation, the Finance Director and the Chief Deputy Attorney.
Before you move on,
Yes.
is there anything that anybody wants to change on that first page?
Nope.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, just a comment relative to the deferred comp. We should add Greg Kreiser's position rather than Chief Deputy Attorney. Just a small change. We'll make that.
Okay. All right. Then the Area Transportation Planning, ATP, that's Vetch. Port and Chain of Lakes Advisory Board is Delyden and Vetch. Broadband Committee, Vetch, Delyden. Central Minnesota Economic Development, 7W District, Joint Powers Board, Vetch, Jolene Foss, Wetter, and is our alternate. Central Minnesota EMS Regions Joint Powers Board is Hewsome, Ketchmark is the alternate. Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Joint Powers Board, the Workforce Center, Hewsome. Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board, the Regional Radio Board is Ketchmark, Hewsome's alternate. Central Mississippi River Regional Planning Partnership, Vetch, Delyden. County Extension Service, Wetter and Delyden. Delegates to AMC, all the commissioners. Auditor Treasurer, Administrator, Highway Engineer. East Central Joint Powers Board, Vetch, and our Court Services Director. Economic Development Authority, all commissioners. Economic Development Partnership Board, Wright County, AKE, CDEP, Vetch and Vetter.
You skipped one page.
Okay. Sorry, my pages are out of order.
It starts with safety
I've
on
got them all.
top.
And
Oh, safety, okay.
Madam Chair, before we move, just to confirm, we're keeping the same committee assignments for delegates to AMC for 2022.
For all the
Independent
whether you're
policy
on
committees.
Transportation or the general government at AMC.
Okay, good point. Yes, so we all have our different assignments for AMC. Want to keep those the same?
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Okay,
Sure.
all right.
Just because there's a lot, I mean, is there actually anybody that has any intent of changing any of their advisory groups? I know, most of mine, I would encourage the board support, keeping myself on the ones that I'm on, just for the fact that there's a lot of things in movement at this time. I'd like to retain the same committee assignments, but
Yeah,
I just, I mean,
I'd like to go through them, Madam Chair.
okay. So, all right,
safety,
so then moving on.
backtracking.
Moving on, safety is Hewsome, Ketchmark, Administrator, Assistant Administrator, Risk Manager, Emergency Management Coordinator, and representative from the different unions. Security is Hewsome and Ketchmark. The judges, Administrator, Risk Manager, Court Administrator, representatives from Sheriff, Court Services, and County Attorney. Tax Forfeit Committee is Wetter, Ketchmark, Finance Director. Technology is Vetch, Delyden, Administrator, IT Director. Auditor Treasurer, Finance Director, representative from Sub-Technology Committee. Transportation Committee of the Whole, all commissioners, Highway Engineer. Ways and Means, Hewsome, Wetter. 911 Planning, Hewsome, Ketchmark. Wetter is the alternate, and we also have a number of other representatives from the Sheriff's Office, Emergency Management. The advisory boards are AIS, Hewsome, and Wetter. And
Everybody's good with those?
yep, everybody good with that page? Okay, Great River Regional Library Board, Ketchmark and Vetch.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
so I sat on that the past year, and a couple of the board members and myself, we were thinking that the logical choice would be Commissioner Hewsome with your background and experience in books and the library system, so I was hoping that you would take that one now. Since there isn't any kind of a money transaction taking place,
is
but,
they, and they meet every month?
no, they don't meet every month.
Okay, what is the schedule?
I can't remember if
I
it's,
think they're on the same as the Trailblazer every other month, but then they have their special management groups, so sometimes you might only meet once every 3 months.
right.
I don't know how I can take on one more committee, but I can try. And Commissioner Ketchmark, would you agree to be the alternate if I couldn't make it then, since you've had a year on that board?
I could, unless Commissioner Vetch said he wanted to stay the same, if he wanted to keep that as alternate.
It doesn't matter. I mean, you've been so diligent to making all of them. You've never even had to tap my shoulder to attend one for you.
Well, it's your
I can
call.
I can be an alternate. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay,
Unless you guys, the two of you, want to swap a committee of some other sort. Because maybe it would be interesting or a thing to consider putting Commissioner Catchmark on the crime lab, just because this is being, I don't know if you're, next year, if we're going to be moving some new faces on here, maybe it'd be interesting to have somebody else get their feet wet before while you're still here around to guide him through the history of it, but just things for consideration.
all right. So Highway 25 Safety Coalition, Catchmark, Highway 55 Coalition, Hewsum Wetter, Historical Society Wetter, I-94 Coalition Vetch, Law Library Hewsum, Legislative Matters, all commissioners, Mentorship Education and Drug Awareness, META, Hewsum, Minnesota Rural Counties, Catchmark, Wetter alternate.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I don't know when else to bring this up, but I sat on this committee for a year. The meetings are 2.5, 3 hours. I'm wondering, because I wasn't here when I guess the bylaws were changed to allow us in there. I'm wondering what we've seen as a benefit since we have joined MRC, and I know Commissioner Wetter has sat in on a meeting or two.
Yeah.
And we have our professional lobbyist group. If MRC has their own agenda and they lobby for something and it matches with ours, then, okay, then we got double groups lobbying for the same thing, which is good. But I didn't sit on it in past years. Can anybody say what we're really benefiting? I think it costs like $2,300 a year membership. But a lot of these things, as I sit and listen, are for rural, and not really at the top of our list for what our objectives are. So just looking for feedback if this is really.
Yeah, I have no opinion, Commissioner Wetter.
I've sat on some of them were very mismanaged meetings, but I would say, yeah, about half of them are probably would be pertaining to us. It's always nice to get another lobbyist out there, you know, saying the same thing, but I really don't know either how much we've actually benefited. Lee, do you know anything more?
Well, high level, for cost for 2022, we just got the renewal notice, which I've held on knowing this discussion was coming. Would be membership dues of $2,900 for the upcoming year. We joined, as I recall, in 2018. At that time, there was more waters of the U.S. and drainage issues, I believe, was the primary driver of why we joined. Some of those factors have changed in that time. I believe past commissioners have felt value in the group here, but certainly now's the time to look at it if we want to make a change.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, Commissioner Lyden.
I don't know if I've received anything from them regarding what their priorities are at the legislators and stuff like that. I know I could go out to their website and look too, but.
Yeah, I think I got a bunch at home too.
So I'm just kind of curious, you know, on what their priorities are. I'd say, why don't we kind of just hold off on this one until we get a chance to find out what their priorities are and what their platform is?
Yeah.
So that we know.
Right, and it's good timing if we're holding up the membership for this year. Maybe we should get a hold of drainage and see if there's anything on their plate that they would like to see addressed. And if our professional lobbyists could take that on along with MRC, I'm sure they do have some drainage things that they would like looked into also, which they're going to do whether we're members or not.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Wetter.
Yeah, I particularly listened to the environmental stuff that they were talking about, and they do have like the public waters, which is coming up now as to some decision on that. And I know that that is one of their, what should I say, one of their things they're going to be lobbying for, and several other things. I mean, it's usually a lot of transportation things like roads, bridges, that sort of thing. In fact, they actually sent a survey, and I answered it. I talked to the highway department to get a little more information on that, and that's one of their concern was transportation and the highways and the bridges also. So in a way, I don't know what to say because I don't have a history with them either, so.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Vetch?
the Minnesota Rural Caucus, it really is only as good to us as much as we want to leverage the group.
Yeah.
So if we're continually just peripherally involved, I know formerly Commissioner Burrell was very involved and was very big in policy development with them. Now, with him having departed us and new members into it, and the issues have changed, we really have to ask ourselves, if we're just going to pay the membership dues and literally just get the little bit of trickled information out, there probably isn't a lot of value there. If we want to actually have active members on that board and help to try and steer the policies, well, then there would be. So it's really what we want to put into that group or not. And what we've been historically doing is using a lot of our own internal lobbying services, because then we can get things much more customized to the needs of Wright County versus trying to get something that fits all the counties.
Board, do you have a recommendation at this time, or do you want to do some more investigation and bring it back next week?
Madam Chair, I don't care either way, but if Commissioner Catchmark wouldn't want the main role, I would take it on, and he could be the secondary person.
Well, I think it'd be good for everybody to figure out if it is worthwhile, what the benefits are. If we can have county staff do research here in the next week and
Yeah.
see if we should have a place there.
Let's put a hold on this one
Okay.
and bring it back next week after we've done some more research on it.
Okay.
All right, MnDOT Policy Advisory Committee, Vetch. Monticello Joint Planning Board, Vetch. One Watershed, One Plan. North Fork Crow, Wetter. Ketchmark is the alternate. One Watershed, One Plan Policy Committee, South Fork Crow, Wetter. Ketchmark is the alternate. One Watershed, One Plan Committee, Mississippi St. Cloud, Wetter. Parks Advisory Board, Leiden. Planning Commission, Ketchmark. Public Works Labor Management, Hewsome, and Vetch is the alternate.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Back to the Planning Commission, at a recent meeting, Commissioner Delyden said that he would be willing to take that one over, and I was sat on it the last year, and I'd take him up on that offer.
All right,
Commissioner Delyden?
yeah, if you don't want it, yeah, I'll sit on the planning commission.
All right. We don't have an alternate for that one, so.
It would be hard to have one because
Yeah.
so many things are
Right,
carried from meeting to
continue,
meeting. You would want to have an alternate.
Yep. All right, Region 7W Transportation, Vetch. Regional Crime Lab, used to be Tri-County, Hewsome.
Did you want to
Something
take,
you want to do, Ketchmark?
Sure, I would. I know you're very passionate about it, so if it's your last year and you still want it,
I mean,
I'll sure
I
take
would
it.
kind of like to do the last year, but,
Go for it. I would just throw it out there if you, because
Yeah.
I know you get a lot of.
yeah. And this one only meets 3 times a year, so it's not a big commitment.
You like to keep it, or?
I'll keep it for this
Okay.
year, and
All right.
I'm sure you can next year. Safe Communities of Wright County, Hewsome. Safe Harbor Task Force, Hewsome. Soil and Water Conservation District, Wetter. Trailblazer Joint Powers Board, Vetch to Leiden, Wetter alternate. Deterrence Steering Committee, Hewsome. Twin Cities Urbanized Areas, Vetch. Waste Management Task Force, Wetter.
water, water,
What'd I say?
waste,
Oh. Okay, yes, sorry, thank you.
pretty different.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
I would prefer water over waste.
Wright County Agricultural Society, Ketchmark, Wright County Area Transportation Advisory, Vetch, Wetter, Wright County Community Action Council, Wetter, Delyden, City Representative, Wright County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee, Ketchmark. So I did one page and 4. So with the change from Planning Commission, Delyden takes that. Otherwise, everything else remains the same unless anyone has any
In the library.
questions.
Madam Chair, in the library.
Yes,
Change.
yeah.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the reorganization for 2022.
All right, motion made by Commissioner
Second.
Ketchmark, seconded by Commissioner Delyden. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that is taken care of. Moving on to our timed items. Lindsay Meyer, Administration Finance.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This morning, I've got 2 items for you. The first is a resolution approving our application for the 2022 HAVA grant, the Help America Vote. With that, I am requesting you to approve our application and also the authority for me to sign on that grant application. We're expecting about $49,000 with that grant, which will be used towards the omniballot equipment that we have an order out for, instead of using the carryover that is going into the CIP fund.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution approving our county's application for the 2022 Help America Vote Act.
Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Batch. Any discussion on this? Any questions?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark?
one question. Do we have to contribute any matching money for the grant?
I believe, Carissa, please confirm, no. I
Those
was
are the
gonna say I
best-
believe not.
Okay.
And we will actually be able to use these funds as a match towards a different grant that we have already applied for.
Okay, thank you. Those are the best kind of grants.
Yes,
All right.
very good situation for us.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call vote. Commissioner Ketchmark?
Aye.
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 Resolution passes 4-5-0. All right, and then the next resolution.
The other item we have is establishing, or adopting a resolution to establish absentee ballot boards. We are statutorily required to for the 22-23 election cycles.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Wetter?
I guess I can't vote for this resolution with a yes because of where it says deputy staff trained in the processing and counting of absentee ballots, and also trained deputy staff to perform the absentee ballots board duties. Right now, they're in court. There is the problem of having equal Republicans and Democrats on that board. And who's to say that the staff would be equal in that type of thing? And they could be biased one way or the other, and that's the way I understood the law, was that you had to have equal parties.
The resolution, as we are statutorily required to establish the absentee boards.
Yes.
With that, we have developed the resolution to allow for either the party balance from the election judges and or whatever it takes to get staffing deputized in order to do that. All trained staff either way you look at it, they are expected to be impartial. Greg, do you have any comment?
But still, when it's actually in court, that in the last election, there was not equal, and that a lot of staff were just opening it. I mean, they had roomfuls of staff that were opening, and it wasn't equal.
Are you saying in our
think
county?
Pardon me?
Are you saying in our county?
I don't know about our county. I'm talking about this resolution that doesn't say that it should be equal party representation and opening. I'm against the staff opening as to actually election.
The specific party balance that you're referring to is the sufficient number of election judges that is the party balance situation, or trained deputy staff. We can identify the makeup of those boards at a later time, but the resolution is purely to establish those absentee ballot boards.
I guess I still don't like it because it's too broad and not specific enough for my taste.
Okay?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
is there a way for us to put in there that there be bipartisanship observers pieces to it that if to get the comfortability and to help build integrity to it? I mean, of the process. I mean, I guess if we need to have more discussion on this, then maybe I'm not more sure what the time sensitivity piece is on it. Because I mean, our election process for unfortunate reasons is under a great deal of scrutiny, so.
Yes.
It is. In my understanding of the cases that have gone forward, there has been, I don't know the best way to word it, but there's been no issue. Yes, it was called into question, but it is to the letter of the law.
Glenn, did you have a comment?
Well, I don't know if we're gonna have equal amounts of Democrats and Republicans on this, then what about independents? So, I mean,
If
we
you
gotta
can
have.
get them, you put them there too.
And, I mean, you know, Lindsay Meyer did make a good point. When you're on this, I mean, you are to be impartial, so you have to leave whatever your political beliefs are, you know, you can't let, you need to be completely honest. And so I mean,
Madam
if
Chair,
people can't do that, they can't, they shouldn't be opening absentee ballots. But Commissioner Wetter?
Madam Chair, it's very hard to keep bias out of that type of deal when you're opening ballots like that.
I disagree. I was called in to, on a contested election, and I was called in to examine boxes and votes for this, and, you know, to check to see if all the ballots were correct that they had reported from the different precincts, and they were. I mean, you know, you're sitting there, and I'm not going to say, no, this vote was for somebody else when it's, you know, I'm not going to lie. I mean, you have to take oaths. You can't just show up and try to skew any election, or you can't be there. So that's my take on it.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Wetter?
I've been an election judge. I understand some of the things going on behind the scenes. I've gone through many of the trainings. Whenever you can avoid some kind of questionings or at a later date, you try to avoid that. And that's what I'm trying to do, is avoid some kind of mishap, you know, that could happen.
You never will. That's a pipe dream. There's always gonna be somebody that's gonna complain about something or
If they
another.
don't,
Yeah, but if you could have proof,
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Blyden?
Lindsay, is this time sensitive?
No. But I would encourage you to pass this resolution for discussion at a later time regarding the content or the individuals assigned to those boards.
Exactly, and that's, I mean, this is to establish the absentee ballot process. So if we have questions about anyone that is hired to do this, that you don't trust that when they take the oath, they're being honest about it, that could be called into question at that time, correct?
Absolutely.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Ketchmark?
Thank you. I saw one deadline of January 31st. Was that related to anything we needed to be concerned about?
It was the have a grant.
Oh, okay. And then from what you see in the resolution today, is there anything different in this process from a year ago?
I don't believe so.
Okay. then it's up to you, Madam Chair, but there may be people in the audience that are maybe more well-versed than some of us board members, and if we're going to continue some of the discussion, it's up to you if you'd want to maybe inquire if there's anybody that wants to weigh in, but
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution with those members of the board to be determined at a later date.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner
Madam Chair, hold on a second. I think the biggest question here is the whereas the chief election official and the chief election officers, officials designee is hereby authorized and directed to appoint members of the ballot board. Now, I think if you want to remove anything, you want to remove that piece out there and move it to elected officials to appoint that piece to it, which even that has pieces to it. I'm not quite sure who should be responsible for appointing those people onto that board. But as it stands right now, if you approve this resolution, there's really no meat to require it to come back to the board and as to who they appoint to it. So
Right.
if
It does give me the authority to appoint either election judges or deputy staff.
yeah. And so if you want to have say on who's on there, then you want to change the language on that part, that line of the resolution.
So, board, are you saying that you would like to, after, when our director makes his appointments, you'd like to give final approval?
So whereas the chief election official, the chief election officer designee is hereby authorized to make recommendations and appointments with the approval of the county board for something to that effect, so they can come forward with a recommendation, and
That would be better.
then the board can approve those appointments to that process. Then at least there's multiple people weighing in on it. And there's more transparency to the public as to who's on there as it comes forward as an agenda item on the board.
Is that,
So our past practice,
yep, Melissa?
our practice has been to recruit and bring on everybody as a Wright County election staff. They go through the background check and we bring them on board. We can continue to do that. We can bring the list of names though of those staff that we hire. We can collect party affiliation, maintain balance, and bring that list of employees to pass at a future resolution. That's the wish of the board.
Okay. Does that sound, board?
You would just have to do that by the time absentee voting starts in June.
I just trust I trust our county employees, so
Yeah,
I'll just withdraw my nomination, or no, I won't. I'll keep it there.
With the change to be
No,
approved by the board?
Just the way it is.
Okay. Is there a second to Commissioner Delyden's motion? Is there a second to Commissioner Delyden's motion? Is there a second to Commissioner Delyden's motion? Okay, it dies for lack of a second. All right. Is there,
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve the resolution with the modification of the line where we will bring back those recommended individuals with the described information by Carissa for a final approval by the county board.
That would be better, yeah.
all right, is
I'll
that
second.
agreeable?
I'll second.
All right. Do we have a motion and a second?
Madam Chair, we have to do all we can to get as much integrity back into our election system, and things like this are just minor steps that we can take. Sure, it's one more action that we have to do, but it opens more transparency to it, so I'm all in favor of that.
All right. Motion made and second. Is there any more discussion?
Just for clarity, Madam Chair, I believe your intent then is to modify the 1 to 4th whereas.
Yep, right under the
That
whereas
language.
the chief election
election.
official, yep, will be added, then we'll come forward with a recommendation and party affiliation information on the recommendations for the county board approval
All right.
Of the ballot board.
of the ballot board, yeah.
Of the ballot
Any
board.
more
Wordsmith
discussion?
it, you know.
Yeah. You'll wordsmith.
Commissioner Ketchmark?
And thank you, and I think that's a good summary. I want to hear more sides or all sides, because there's a lot of, this is just a great time to take a closer look at it, and we get that opportunity, and we might as well. That's all I had.
So, okay. resolution, roll call vote, Commissioner Delyden?
Aye.
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 All right, resolution passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry to create problems, but I thought, I didn't like that.
all right. So we have a different Tony today.
I'm not Tony,
Talking to
no.
Michelle Benson
Chair,
and
members
Crockett
of the
and
board.
all these.
Tony had to be out unexpectedly, so I'm here in his place. And here today to ask you to schedule the 2022 County Board of Equalization in accordance with Minnesota statutes. This is our annual meeting, which occurs in June. It has to be scheduled after the second Friday in June and must occur before June 31st or June 30th each year to allow property owners in the county the option to appeal to the board their assessment and classification for 2022 assessment, which is taxes payable in 2023.
All right,
The last couple years, we have had a deadline set for the appeals for people to make an appointment. That gives our staff time to go out and physically review the property, prepare information, have conversations with the property owners. It also gives the property owners time to prepare so that when we convene in the meeting, that we all have documentation, you guys can make an informed decision. So the last couple of years, we've had that deadline for 1 week prior to the meeting. Our recommendation today would be to schedule the meeting for 4 p.m. on Monday, June 13th. The appointment deadline would be Monday, June 6th, and both of those dates will be clearly stated on the valuation notice.
I'll make a motion to approve setting the Board of Equalizations for the 13th of June at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, is that what you said?
I think that we had to be, still we have to start later than 4?
I don't know about the start time. I know that without appointments, we would have to go beyond 7 p.m., but if we have the appointment factor in there, then we can convene or we can
Well, last
Extend
year,
the time.
last year we started at 4:30.
I'm whatever, 4:30. I just can remember if statutorily there was a time we had to start after. I couldn't remember. That's
I don't
the,
believe there's a start time in statute.
if we do have appointments that start at 7, then perhaps 5 o'clock start would be better. It seems like in past years, we may have started at 6 even, but
are we starting appointments? No.
if there's, if there's people that are scheduled,
Yep, so whether you set the deadline for appointments and make it a mandatory, you have to make an appointment or not, we would still have appointments. And we usually start those about 10, 15 minutes after the beginning of the meeting. Obviously, this year with the state of the real estate market, we don't know how many people to expect. We're gonna do everything we can up front to have communication with property owners about what is happening to their values, but, and I believe Tony has in here also, with the potential for a reconvene the next morning. I have not seen that happen since I've been here, but it's a different year, so.
yeah.
So 4 o'clock?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I'll make a second for 4 o'clock
All right.
on June 13th.
Motion made by Commissioner Delyden, seconded by Commissioner Batch, 4 o'clock, June 13th, Board of Equalization. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that is set.
Can I ask to, I don't know if you need to include anything or what the board's wishes regarding the appointments and setting that deadline for the Monday prior?
You're looking at the week before.
Yeah. That way we would just print it on the notice that an appointment must be made by June 6th.
Do you want to, do we make that part of the motion
Do you
or?
want to
Yeah, I would think.
include that as
it's
part of the
kinda-
motion?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine with that, so.
And you're fine with that, Commissioner Batch? All right, we'll include that as part of the motion.
Appreciate it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Tammy. All right, Virgil Hawkins.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair and Board of Commissioners. There's 3 highway items today before you for consideration. The first one is to approve a resolution regarding spring load restrictions on Wright County highways. This is an annual event that we have to pass this resolution so we can post the highways when it becomes time. Some years it's as early as late February, others it's typically into March where we have to post road restrictions. There's a map and a resolution in your packet.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Glyden?
We're only allowed to keep it on for so long once we do it, right? Or we can go and extend it for...
Typically, it's 8 weeks,
8
but
weeks.
we go by the
state.
this data we get from MnDOT. We have some locations where we can check when frost is complete.
You can't guarantee that it'll be in the first part of February, spring thaw?
No,
Oh, darn it.
wish I could.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution regarding spring load restrictions on the Wright County highway systems.
I'll second.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Glyden, second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. I'll start. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oops.
Aye.
All right. Resolution passes 5-0.
Thank you. The next item is to request authorize Highway Engineer Hawkins and Assistant Highway Engineer Hausman to attend the NACE National Association of County Engineers Conference, the annual meeting and technical conference that's held this year, scheduled in Erie County, New York, which is in Buffalo, New York, from April 24th to 27th.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark.
go virtual. I have to ask, is there an option for Zoom or virtual attendance to this?
That's a great question, and given the state of things right now, just for some background, last year's national conference was held virtually. The entire conference was. The year before, it was canceled altogether. This year, they're hopeful to hold it in person. Typically, the registrations are out in November or December, but they haven't even come out yet. They're supposed to come out this week, and I think they're kind of waiting to see how things are in New York State with COVID. So, but there's not an option. They'll either have it in person or they'll cancel it.
All right. Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve Highway Engineer Hawkins and Assistant Highway Engineer Hausman to attend that.
Second.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Glyden, second by Commissioner Wetter. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair?
Yes.
Regarding that last approval, what I would like is for you guys to come back after after that, if you end up going, just to let us know some of the new ideas that are out there.
Yes,
You know,
that's
when the flying cars are coming,
flying cars,
you know, those sort of important things in life.
no drivers, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Will do.
All right. Then the resolution, next resolution.
The next item is approve resolution for final acceptance to contract 2001. This is authorizing final payment to Knife River in the amount of $83,605.50. This is for our 2020 pavement preservation program.
All right.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve resolution of final acceptance for contract number 2001.
I'll second
All
it.
right. Motion made by Commissioner Batch, seconded by Commissioner Glyden. Any discussion? Hearing none. Resolution, roll call vote. Commissioner Batch.
Aye.
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 I didn't know which way they were going.
Resolution passes 5-0.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Pages are all messed up.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Here today on ordinance amendment number 21-5. This matter received its public hearing before the Wright County Planning Commission on December 16th, 2021. After a lengthy discussion, the ordinance was amended to remove one section, and then it was recommended for adoption for this board. So I have it before your board. The board today, what was presented, which was recommended for passage, is 21-5. I was requested by a board member to include an amendment, including the part that the planning commission took back out. So I presented that to the board as amendment 21-5A. Included in that amendment, staff noticed a technical typographical change that we'd like to make, so I included it as section 1 in the amendment. We're trying to make everything be alternating current, and there was a reference to direct current. So just trying to change that typographical change. Otherwise, Madam Chair, the public hearing on this matter has been closed.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Vetch?
just to be open discussion, I'm going to start off by making a motion to approve ordinance amendment 21-5A for acceptance.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, Commissioner Vetch, it would be a motion to approve ordinance amendment 21-5 and ordinance amendment 21-5A.
Okay, you have to do both.
5A amends the
Yeah,
underlying
okay.
one. Yep.
21-5 and 21-5A.
All right.
Madam Chair?
Yes, motion made by, we need
Get
a
a second
second.
first before we can
We
open
need a
discussion.
second for
Oh,
discussion.
okay.
Is there a second to Commissioner Vetch's motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Commissioner Ketchmark?
Yes, and I have another amendment to add to it, to Article 1, Section 2, and to be inserting the following after Section 155.108, letter C, number 15, A15, and it would be worded as such: a certified or sworn statement by the applicant, which includes a full listing and disclosure of all materials and substances which are included in the construction of the solar panels that will be placed on the property. And this statement will need to be reaffirmed and redisclosed at the time the building permit application is filed. This is based on, for those that weren't in the work group, a request that was made last summer based on public safety and fire chief's interests. So if there was a fire at one of these sites, that they would know what materials they would be working with. So I requested that of our solar company representatives that will be installing these panels, and I didn't receive a response. So to this point, we don't know what those items would be, but based on public safety interest in our fire departments, that's why this language is proposed to be added.
Any responses to Commissioner Ketchmark? I mean, that, you know, doing a lot of research on what these solar panels are made up of, I believe that that's a reasonable request, so.
Madam Chair, I think you could look for a second. I think Commissioner
Do we have
Ketchmark.
do we want to modify
Oh,
the,
you'd be amending your motion.
You'd have
Get in a
to,
motion to amend.
and I mean, I'm fine to be open to a friendly amendment to that. I mean, I think the request to it is, the question is, do we want to have solidified language on it, or is it, are we comfortable with staff level on the ad hoc language for it?
I'm comfortable with what he said. And for Madam Chair, members of the board, the provision that he's citing is dealing with what's required on the application. So he's adding that as the last bullet point in
and
the application process.
so you will amend your motion, and
I'll
you're stuck
second.
with that? All right, is there any questions about that, or?
Madam Chair, so just to want to clear some things up there, there's some rhetoric out there that this process lacked transparency. I think Commissioner Ketchmark will agree with myself that we had numerous public meetings, I think greater than 8 over the past year regarding this matter. And one of the issues that there was claimed is that the 21.5A, the setbacks wasn't discussed, and it was something that was put in on the backside. That is not further from the truth. We did talk a lot about co-locating, and the setbacks have to do with co-locating and the concerns that we have with a lot of small solar, I'm going to call them subdivisions, where you're literally getting a 1 megawatt and another 1 megawatt being built the following year and another 1 megawatt being built the following year after that. They have a 3 megawatt unit. That 3 megawatt unit isn't paying the same tax classification or production tax that if it was a 3 megawatt unit would be. Now, if we put these setback in order in this current ordinance 21.5A, you could still build a 3 megawatt unit or a 1.5 megawatt unit right next to a 1.5 megawatt unit. The only difference is you can't do it through the county. You will have to go in contract with XL Energy to get it done. So we are not removing any of the farmers' rights to build a 1.5 and a 1.5 right next to it. You just have to go through a different process. You'd have to go through the PUC. You would have to go directly with XL Energy. You will pay production tax. You will pay commercial tax classification. You pay the same as you would if you were XL Energy. We're not allowing a 0.9 megawatt or a 1 megawatt unit right next to a 1 megawatt unit. We're asking that citizens, if you want to have 1 megawatt units, you're going to have distance between them. We're open to ones that are paying larger solar. We've had issues with smaller solar systems where we have less issues with larger solar systems. We're also trying to prevent the issue of construction year after year after year on lot after lot of these 1 megawatt units when really they're just circumventing a system to create a 5 megawatt unit, but they're just building them 1 year after another. So,
I mean, this has been a big issue in other counties, so this is not unique to Wright County.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Delighten?
It says that 1.49 megawatts or less. So does the PUC allow them to build up to 1.49 megawatts?
The Public Utilities Commission deals with large solar installations. I don't know their threshold here, but it's basically like a large power plant. I don't know what Aurora was. That would be one of them that was regulated by the PUC. If it's a 1.5 megawatt, it would not be regulated by the PUC. Madam Chair, Commissioner Batch.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Wetter?
In the case of a neighbor wanting to put up another solar farm, and he wants to put it close to the line, and the other neighbor that has one already close to the line, how do you substantiate that second neighbor being able to put one up where he wants to put it up?
Commissioner Hughes.
And it's not a mile apart.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Wetter, are you talking about private, or are you talking about these 1 megawatt ones?
What this deals with, the 1 megawatt,
It's up to the board at this point in time. Madam Chair, Commissioner Wetter, on the setback issue, if the board was looking at trying to create a setback for the 1 megawatt. So if one person gets one at 1 megawatt, there would be subject to a 1 mile setback for another solar farm. This has nothing to do with smaller installations, which we can consider, define those as solar energy systems.
well, I guess with the 1 mile setback also, I'm kind of concerned about these multiple transmission lines going all over the place, saying, all the neighbors do want to put their own separate ones on. So you're going to have lines going all over the place. That's why I'm kind of concerned about that. And wondering, if there's some way that would, I don't know, be taken care of somehow or whatever, because I guess I wouldn't like a lot of those lines intersecting and crossing over and all that type of thing either, so I don't know if there's an answer to that or not.
Madam Chair, kind of answering to that is, really, at the end of the day, there's a cost-benefit analysis that's being done on these solar things. And you have to look at this is information from U.S. Energy Information. They're only producing energy at 17% of the time in Minnesota. Solar farms are.
Understand that.
Yeah, so if they go above 1 megawatt, the cost-benefit analysis gets much more challenging for them, especially when they're only in Minnesota producing energy 17% of the time. This is really a question of how much of our land should be committed to something that produces energy in an area that produces it on a very finite level. And we have to have conversations about that holistically in terms of what does our future look like from baseload energy. But this ordinance isn't about that alone. It's also about trying to make sure that we're creating a level playing field for other energy sources that produce things, nuclear, coal, natural gas that produce energy that pay the same commercial tax classification and pay the same production tax. Now, solar, if it's at 1 megawatt or less, is not paying those. So we really need to make sure that all energy is paying the same amount of tax so that they're actually being compared linearly.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Betch, or excuse me, Letter?
The only reason I'm bringing this up is it's been stated that this was a way for a farmer to make some money on his land that might not be the best for cropping, but it might be good for him to have a solar array there. So that's why I'm bringing that up, because I don't particularly agree that solar power is a good thing in Minnesota, but I guess I'm just speaking on behalf of that farmer that thinks that he can get some more money out of his land, so.
Madam Chair,
Thank you, Commissioner Ketchmark.
I'd like to put on the record, and this will address that to a point, is this ordinance was sent out to all townships and cities in Wright County. I don't know how many had a chance to read the feedback, but
Yeah.
from what I saw, they all approved of it as written, except one township had a problem with the setback. And then there were others that wanted to copy because they wanted to plagiarize our ordinance, I'll say, and use it in their municipality. And then there were some that wanted it more strict. And including, and of course, a lot of these townships have farmers on their boards, and some of those made up of the farmers, they approved the ordinance. The other thing that they wanted, as far as strict, and maybe planning would have to address this, but one concern is they wanted the driveway permit approved to the solar field before construction. Can somebody weigh in if that is the way the typical process would be, or would we have to look at that? Apparently there was concerns with maybe driveway approval and placement, and where that would come into play with the process.
Well, that could be part of the site approval that the planning commission does, that where driveways are located. My assumption would be that the site plan that gets approved at the planning commission level would include driveway location. If we're talking about the driveway connection at the public road, that could be required at the time of permit application.
And it's the township that's concerned, and sometimes it's put back to them to approve the driveway placement. So how would that, I'm thinking of residences particular, but how would this affect that? Would it go back to them to approve the driveway before the official solar plan is approved? I think that was their.
If it's on a township road, they have the ultimate authority to approve the driveway location, but they should be looking at that at the same time they're looking at the planning commission application.
Okay.
They're looking at the plan, providing a recommendation. If they have issues with the driveway placement, that should be noted at the time that they submit their recommendation to the planning commission, so that can be then vetted out at the planning commission.
Okay, so your opinion is that this will be addressed and take care of itself without any extra language in the ordinance?
Should.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other comments? Did you have more comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anyone else? All right.
We have a motion and a second on the floor, Madam Chair.
Yep, we have a motion and a second. Thank you. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor of this ordinance, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Aye.
Passes 3-2. Thank you. Okay. Moving right along. Administrator Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In front of you today for consideration, we've worked up a statement of work with Sierra Cedar, moving forward with the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning Project, for the implementation of the financial aspects. We did have the statement of work reviewed by a number of parties, including our own internal legal, and came to terms with Sierra Cedar You may recall that they were the firm that was brought in to assist us in doing an assessment of our project, and providing a plan moving forward. What is in front of you is the result of the planning sessions that took place. Their plan for implementation would be a mid-February start, with implementation of the financials, procurement contracts, and grants in 2022 here. So I will stand for questions regarding the statement of work.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Ketchmark.
And I talked a little bit with Lee about this, but do we have any other options? I guess cost-wise, we're at 2.2 million. If we add this, we're going to be at 3.5 million. Mr. Fomby estimated that's going to be up and running to some degree June of this year. Is that consistent with what you're seeing and showing us here today?
Yes, so we did receive, when we started communications with Sierra Cedar about putting together the statement of work and pricing, we did also reach out to a firm called Infotech that had advised us at the very beginning, just to get a state to the lay of the land. They indicated the pricing that we were seeing in the statement of work was in line with what the market currently was. Additionally, we did reach out to Oracle and get a quote set up with another firm, which came in similar to what we received here for the work based on the statement. So we felt best that, given the expertise that we felt was demonstrated by Sierra Cedar, working in public sector, specifically in Minnesota, that we would move forward with a statement of work with them.
Just to follow up, did we do any reference checks as far as other folks that have used this large-scale project and seen what their feedback was?
We did. Most recently, we've been in discussions, actually formulated a working group with Dakota County, who's also started their implementation of March of last year with Sierra Cedar. So there is some overlap in the project team, the high level that they're working with. So we felt that we got a good report from them. They did also provide a few other government agencies that they'd worked that we had spoken to prior to this coming forward. So we felt we got enough various points to do our due diligence on this.
Well, thank you. And do you still expect June for implementation to some degree, or to what degree, in what month? Would you say?
I would say, and we're still setting the kickoff date, mid-February will dictate a little bit, probably about 6.5 months at least, so I don't feel that June is quite feasible. We'll be closer to probably latter part of Q3 to get into testing, final testing. So I would anticipate Q4 of 22 we'd be able to go live with these modules.
Okay, thank you.
This has been a massive project undertaking, so it'll be wonderful when it's finally implemented, because there's been some hurdles along the way, no question.
A couple.
Just a couple. All right. Is there a motion to approve statement of work for Sierra Cedar?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the statement of work with Sierra Cedar on the ERP system.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Vesh, seconded by Commissioner Lyden. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Unanimous. Items for consideration. Have,
Madam Chair, we do have a number of months this year that fall with 5 Tuesdays. Traditionally, we've set these a little more piecemeal. I thought it might be good to plan for the annual by bringing all of these forward at this time. So we could start with March.
all right. So of the 5 Tuesdays in March, does anyone have a preference as to which one to cancel?
Traditionally, we've maintained that second Tuesday as our workshop date. So I don't have a recommendation necessarily for March as I do with some of the other months.
All right. Someone like to make a recommendation? We're probably looking at
Either the 22nd or 29th. You
Yep.
really don't want to go.
22nd or 29th, yeah. We don't want to cancel the first.
Well, I'd like, I guess the 22nd, if we cancel that one, that's a week of committee meetings and stuff like that.
So the last one of the month would be preferable?
Yeah, I think so. Just looking at it. I was kind of hoping to do towards the beginning, but
Well, we could. I mean, I would just say if we were gonna cancel like the 1st or the 8th, we'd want to move the workshop to the 15th or
Yeah.
something, just so you wouldn't have 2 weeks in a row.
Right, yeah, you can't miss.
I'm fine with that if it works good for everybody,
What one were you
especially because
thinking?
we're canceling one in May anyway, so better to go earlier.
You're looking at the, perhaps canceling the 8th and then moving the
no,
workshop?
that's too long between meetings then.
No, we'd cancel the 8th, but then we'd move the workshop.
So the problem with the 8th
No,
is,
then we'll have
the
two.
the 9th is committee day, so, you know.
Whatever.
What I'd like to do is cancel the 1st and move the workshop to the 15th.
That sounds good.
Okay,
Cancel March 1st.
is that a motion?
And then we
Make
gotta
that motion.
All right, second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. No board meeting on March 1st. May,
I'd say the 31st.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation, given the holiday.
That was kind of my hopes everybody would agree on May
Yeah.
31st.
all right, make that motion.
So moved.
All right,
I'll
motion made by
second it.
Commissioner Vesh, second by Commissioner Glyden to cancel May 31st board meeting.
What, the only question I have is what time do you want us up at the cabin for a barbecue?
Who's
All
got the
right.
cabin?
His folks do.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. August.
Moving to August, just a reminder, later in the meeting here, we are talking about our budget process. There was some discussion about canceling the 23rd, as we had targeted that week for meetings with the board on the budget. So
So you're thinking the 23rd and we do budgets?
that'd be
then
my
instead?
recommendation, but certainly open.
Fine by me.
Fine.
Yeah? I'm good with that.
All right. Is there a motion to cancel the 23rd?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Vesh, second by Commissioner Wetter. All in favor?
Aye.
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 November?
November, I would recommend either the 22nd or 29th, as that falls around Thanksgiving holiday.
I'd say better up
I think
on the
last year we
22nd.
did the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. It makes no difference to me.
That's cool. Make a motion for the 22nd.
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Wetter, seconded by Commissioner Ketchmark.
And that was the
Cancel-
22nd?
Yes.
Cancel the November 22nd board meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. We got that on our calendars.
Thank you,
So the
board.
next item is the resolution setting the minimum salary for elected officials.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Per statute 387.20 and 388.18, which pertains to both the Office of the Sheriff and the Office of the County Attorney, we are required to set a minimum salary for during an election year in January. So this would be the amount that would be the minimum set for 1/1 of 2023. So all potential candidates would know what that would be.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution regarding setting minimum salary for elected officials.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Glyden. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Commissioner Wetter. Any discussion?
And that, Madam Chair,
Yes.
and that, did I not quite see it, but that, all I seen listed was for the attorney and the sheriff.
That's all
That's
we got.
correct,
all we
yes.
have.
We don't have to deal with the county commissioners?
There's not an equivalent statute for commissioners, no.
All right, just curious.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark?
just for discussion, is there any language or process to set a maximum salary for elected officials, whether it's board or the others we're speaking of?
I'm not aware of one. I'm not aware of counties doing so. So I don't believe that there's a mechanism nor a requirement to do so. I guess I would encourage these same statutes do speak to setting the salaries based on the merits of the candidates, and I would encourage the board to do that in the future, so.
Thank you.
All right. Hearing no more discussion, roll call vote. Commissioner Wetter?
Aye.
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 All right, resolution passes 5-0. Okay, and then second item is the finance. So the American Rescue Plan, state and local fiscal recovery.
I don't think we
think we
adopted
jumped
the budget
ahead.
schedule.
Yep, adopt the budget process for 2023.
I'll make a
Oh,
motion
I'm sorry.
to adopt the budget schedule for 2023
All
budget
right.
process.
Yep, thank you.
Second.
Missed that one. Okay, motion made by Commissioner Delight, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. Everyone good with that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes for our budget schedule. Okay, now, finance.
Are they actually going to send out invites for that, Administrator Kelly? Just so we can populate our calendar?
Yeah, we can, now that it's approved. We'll move
I
forward
would-
that way.
Good morning, Heather.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. On January 7th, the Department of Treasury released the final guidance on the American Rescue Plan funds. We're just recommending that Wright County elects the standard allowance of the $10 million in revenue loss that is outlined in the final guidance, rather than the 1.6 originally calculated by staff. If there's any questions?
Questions? Everyone good with that?
Yep. So, Madam Chair?
Yes.
They're just looking for a motion for us to recognize the $10 million in revenue loss versus the previous number, the 1.6.
Yep, this will make it easier for reporting both on the federal requirements and the financials.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the change in the recognition of the $10 million in revenue loss, opposed to the $1.6 million that was presented previously.
Motion made by Commissioner Fetch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Delyden. Any more discussion? Questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to our committee minutes. First one is Committee of the Whole on January 6th. Commissioner Wetter.
Yes, this was concerning the jail medical provider. The commissioners were all present except for Commissioner Vetch, who was absent. Captain Pat O'Malley introduced Center Care Director Heather Quinnell and Center Care Medical Director Dr. David Friends. There had been discussions with them for several months, and the jail is required to provide medical services, and currently we have a contract with Men Correctional Care, and they provide health technicians to help distribute medications, nursing services, medical health services, and an on-site provider. Question was where Men Correctional Care is located, and it's a provider not affiliated with any hospital or clinic. Mental health issues has increased over the last 12 months, and the potential problems with the current contract was with where he believes the contract with Center Care would be the best interest of the county. Center Care only provides medical services to jails in counties where other Center Care services are already established, and that would be Stearns County, Benton County, and Todd County. Center Care is based in St. Cloud. Center Care wants to provide seamless care before, in, and post custody. Center Care proposed to collaborate with Stellus Health to view pre-custody medical records. And additionally, they would review the treatment provided and continue treatment after custody. They'll also bring in electronic medical record system called Epic into the jail. And historically, it has been very difficult to determine which medicines individuals were prescribed prior to coming to jail. So CentraCare has also developed protocols for correctional care staff to follow when medical care providers are not available. One of the main missions of CentraCare would be to provide the right care for the patient while in custody, as well as creating a plan of care for when the patient leaves. O'Malley also stated there are a lot of people in and out of jail, and then the average length of the stay is 14 days. And there's some that are in more than 2 years at a time are actually in the jail. The mentally ill are typically in jail for 3 to 6 months or longer. And the jail wants to create a better release program to help assist individuals connect with services that are already available in the county. And CentraCare would open the door to things the jail is currently unable to do. A third of the jail population would benefit from the program, and 100% of the inmates staying in custody for more than 6 months would directly benefit. The limited access in the past to medical records is currently a roadblock for the jail, and records would come in by fax, and there's no way of tracking information. And the reason the discussion started with CentraCare was that the jail was having issues getting inmates seen by medical professionals in a timely manner. 85% of the time, inmates can meet through virtual health without taking them out of jail. The inmates would be transported to Monticello if they needed to see someone, and because of the issues with getting individuals seen in Buffalo, this would be a better system. 513,000 would be the contract service alone with men, and it currently is involved in 2 lawsuits. County spends approximately $150,000 per year for outside medical services, so that would be an additional cost. And CentraCare has proposed a cost of $887,000. Men currently provides health technicians that are trained to distribute the medications, but CentraCare would actually have LPNs that would dispense the medications. And stated also that a list of providers that could be contacted at any time, day or night. The lab work would be sent out, and some testing would be done on the site, and the rest would be sent to CentraCare lab. CentraCare has worked with Benton County since October 2017, Stearns since January 2021, and Todd for approximately a year now. So if we were to go to CentraCare, we would have to give a 180-day notice to men correctional care. And CentraCare approach is vastly different than other vendors. Other vendors use the cheapest medicines, while CentraCare does not have a list of prohibited medicines. It would, if somebody was on a certain medicine, they would not change those because that could cause issues. The jail would not pay for post-custody care. However, other county services may, and the closest ambulance would always come, not necessarily Center Cares. Commissioner Ketchmark questioned the staffing hours, and Center Care stated a doctor would visit the jail 2 times a week, and there would be 24/7 on-call coverage. Registered nurses would cover 160 hours a week. LPNs would cover 112 hours per week. And mental health services would be provided on-site 3 times a week. Now, MEND, a doctor was only on site once a week for 6 hours and 24/7 on call. The RNs would be 120 hours per week, and those health technicians, where Center Care has the LPNs, would provide 100 hours per week. Mental health services are available 8 hours per week. So there's quite a discrepancy between the two. There's been discussions also about getting a portable x-ray machine. There's none in the jail right now. And Finance Director Lindsay Myers stated there are funds available to cover the cost discrepancy. Once the contract is approved, like stated before, Men Correctional will be given a 180-day notice, and the agreement that Men has with the nurses right now is that they cannot sign on with a jail provider for 1 year after leaving Men. Center Care, if I remember right, that they could work with that. Recommendation, the Sheriff's Office will continue working with Center Care to finalize a contract. The contract will come before the Commissioners for approval in approximately 1 month. Madam Chair, I would make the recommendation and that the Committee of the Whole minutes from the January 6th meeting be approved along with the recommendations.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Wetter, seconded by Commissioner Glyden. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it sounds like Center Care is gonna do a lot better job for us.
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
100%.
There, and also, I like the idea of the follow-up after the fact.
Yes.
And then they'll also have information regarding that patient
Exactly.
with the software that they're
Computer
bringing with.
Right.
I think it'll be best for
Yes.
everybody.
Yep. So, all right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. No opposed? Thank you. All right. Commissioner Ketchmark, the January 10th meeting.
Very good meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Committee of the Whole met January 10th. First thing we talked about was school resource officer contract rate with Sheriff Derringer. Last year we had approved the freeze on the rate for SROs at $43,764 for the year. Currently there's the equivalent to 10.5 full-time SROs in the county at the school districts. Information was passed along to the board about the increase in serious crimes, different investigations that are going on. A lot of those statistics are up from past years. The agreement was to, well, it's interesting to point out the hourly rate for an SRO that school districts are paying equals $28.05 versus what a city contract rate is, just over $84. So they're getting a lot of service for that price at the school. The recommendation was to freeze the current SRO contract rate at $43,764 for the upcoming 2022-2023 school year. The Commissioners will evaluate the rate again at the beginning of 2023. A letter will be sent to the school districts explaining the Commissioners' plan to increase the rate beginning in the 2023-2024 school year. Sheriff Derringer will work with Communication Specialist John Holler to communicate school-related challenges and statistics and information about county programs to the public. So with that, I would make a motion to approve those meeting minutes and that recommendation regarding the SRO.
I'll second.
We can,
And Madam Chair, just want to make a point to Commissioner Ketchmark's statement about the rate that the cities pay versus the school. I just want to make sure it's noted that cities are statutorily required to offer law enforcement services. Schools are not. They're actually doing us a service by using some of their own funds to actually have law enforcement presence. So hence the reason the rates are grossly different, because the cities, if they don't contract with us, they will have to have their own municipal law enforcement statutorily, so.
all right, so a motion made and seconded to approve this portion of the meeting. Any discussion? I do have just one little tweak, and that's the second paragraph where it says the commissioner, but it's really commissioners. So just so there's not one commissioner. Thank you. Any other comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
And next, we talked about recruiting, hiring, and retaining Sheriff's Office staff. Sheriff Derringer shared that a year and a half ago, the county had 139 applicants for deputy jobs, and last spring there were 36. Several personnel due to retire in 2022. Several cities potentially increasing contract coverage, which could amount to the need for 20 additional positions by the end of the year. We spoke of trying to retain who we have with incentives. It was discussed what options we could offer, and in the end, it's going to be left up to negotiations with unions as far as incentives and bonuses for those that are here and those that we potentially would hire. The sheriff was looking to be authorized to go above the authorized number of 157 positions to 162 positions. And the recommendation was Sheriff's Office is authorized to hire up to 5 additional positions over the 157 previously authorized positions. And just for clarification, they're already approved to hire 2. We approved an additional 3 with this recommendation. So I'd make a motion to approve those meeting minutes with that recommendation.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Ketchmark, seconded by Commissioner Delyden. And I just have one little tweak. The 4th paragraph down, it says that Houston suggested communicating the openings. I think we can strike that because I'm not really sure. It seemed like it was more of a discussion about, you know, the positions and the degree or equivalency that was you know, requirements for the hiring. So if everyone's agreeable to that, we can just strike that sentence. It doesn't really specify anything specifically, because we do advertise for the opening, so I'm not sure what I said, but,
Yeah, I mean, John Holler did the minutes, right?
so,
And he wouldn't be wrong.
no.
Do I need to amend the meeting minutes then with that recommendation by Commissioner Houston?
Yep.
I'm fine with
That's, are you fine with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to the workshop.
All right, thank you,
Mr.
Madam
Kelly.
Chair. We held a workshop on the 11th, commissioners attending as well as a number of staff for different sections of the meeting. First item, of course, was scheduling meetings as needed. We did need to schedule a dental clinic steering committee, which was scheduled for 10:30 on Monday, the 24th. Additionally, we talked about closed session committee of the whole for the administrator's review, which was scheduled for today at 10:30. Discussion then took place about contracted cleaning.
Lee?
Yes, sir.
Regarding that last item about your review, we're going to be late.
Very well.
Just so you're aware of it.
Understood. Back to contacted cleaning, we understood that there was a desire to go out for a RFP, a request for proposal, regarding that service. So we'll move forward with that. The second item related to the OSHA emergency testing standard. We were expecting to hear from the Supreme Court. Had not received any information as of the time of this meeting, knowing that the Supreme Court first held a hearing on Friday the 7th. We had some discussion then about screening and preventative measures for COVID-19 at the new government center and what was planned to be installed. After discussion, the recommendation was that the county will continue to wait for the U.S. Supreme Court ruling regarding the OSHA emergency testing standard, and additional barriers for COVID-19 or safety will not be added to the new government center building. The third item related to the emergency paid sick leave policy that was adopted last year. Was slated to expire at the end of January, and up to that point, 33 employees had utilized the policy, which amounted to 1,105 hours. The recommendation was to extend the policy to April 30th of 2022. Item number 4 was regarding the Alina Clinic Memorial Statute. Commissioner Houston provided an update, and that the Alina Community Health Board had agreed to donate $5,000 towards the project, with an additional 700 in community donations that had been collected. The City of Buffalo Parks Department had located 3 potential options for the site, noting that no Wright County funds will be used for the statue, and this was just informational only. Item 5 was regarding the Fire Training Center. I'd spoken with the City of Buffalo's fire chief about the idea of adding a fire training center to our compost facility site. Discussed briefly the study that the county is conducting regarding that site and how it may impact the fire training center. If this does not end up working out for the fire chiefs group that has been spearheading on their end, they may look at different locations. So at this time was just an informational update. Item number 6, Planning and Zoning Administrator Barry Reinberger provided an update of staffing, noting that Office Manager Terry Purim had retired on Friday, and it was replaced internally by Cheryl Daniels. Also provided an update on the environmental health position. They will be interviewing 5 candidates, which have been scheduled, as well as Office Tech 2 backfill that will be taking place, interviews in the future. So informational at that time. Item number 7 was an update on the assessor's CAMA, or computer-assisted mass appraisal system. Tony Rasmussen and Jeremy Kringler provided a bit of an update about the project that was fast-tracked in August of 2021, anticipating a go-live in November. They're currently working on dual entry with our current Avenue and the new Tyler system. And moving forward, noting that other counties have worked on implementation for over a year, while we've been able to complete the implementation in about 3 months. So hoping to, Rasmussen noted he's hoping to have evaluations done before March, and stated the department's very busy and has had to find the time to integrate Tyler with both the tax and CAM area. Some discussion about the tax system and moving forward with Tyler at that time. So at this point was just an informational item only. The meeting adjourned at 10:03. A summary of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and recommendations from the workshop.
Motion made by Commissioner Besch, seconded by Commissioner Leiden. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Ketchmark?
So in the last week after this meeting, I had some discussion with constituents on the cleaning, and they inquired about better savings for in-house versus contract. I'd like to see the in-house cost if we did do it, and I don't think that would be too difficult with Alan to do the square footage calculation and the hourly rate for staff if he would have to hire those. And I'd also like to see, if we're along the lines of contract services, what it would cost to contract the facility management piece that we currently do in-house. I mean, if we're saving a lot by the cleaning part, eventually, or are we gonna be saving a lot, or would we by having that contracted? This discussion started some years ago with the same way with the in-house cleaning, I would assume. But
Correct,
I
yes.
think it's a good time with transition to new buildings to see what that would cost us to contract.
Commissioner Ketchmark, Alan did say that it would probably need to hire 12 new employees. So according to our, that meeting that day. So, yeah, I guess it'd be fairly easy to figure that out, what our
Well, I think
employees, but, cost analysis
Well-
that we did in the past was that it was cheaper for us to contract than it was to hire. But we can certainly look at it.
Yeah, this is the time, I think we should get that in motion, or I guess I'd get it on the record that I'm requesting those two things, is the in-house price for cleaning, and then the contract price for facilities, maintenance or management. I've read the description, it's not that we're hiring all kinds of trade people, and I wouldn't be looking for subcontracting the HVAC and the electrician, because we have those, but these others it's a generic job description where they have to work a lot of equipment and that kind of thing.
Madam
Mr.
Chair, I
Ketchmark,
think.
I was going to say, we have a motion on the floor, so we can't
Yeah,
make another.
that's a
motion.
separate, yeah, so that would be a
Be
separate motion.
That'd be a
so-
separate motion,
Yep.
but did you
Yeah,
want-
no, I was just gonna
Okay.
just state that we can deal with that once we get these minutes approved, then we can deal with his
Yeah, these are the minutes,
and the recommendation, so.
yeah. Yeah,
We want to approve those and then,
yeah, so, if there's no more discussion on that part of it, I will call for a vote, all in favor?
aye.
All right.
All right, motion passes. Commissioner Ketchmark?
So I'd like to make an additional recommendation to that RFP part to get the price of in-house cleaning for our facilities using in-house county staff.
So, Madam Chair, I guess you're looking, I'll help you here. So we're looking for a motion, or I'll make a motion to direct staff to do a cost analysis for internal costs for doing the services of ABM internally.
Yes.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Batch,
Second?
seconded by Commissioner Ketchmark. Discussion,
Madam Chair,
Mr. Glyden?
just so you're aware too, that our current description is maintenance, which is probably rated higher than a custodian, is my guess too.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
if we utilize the maintenance techs, or if we have it reappointed with the custodian. Lee, do we still have the custodian position, in the sheet with the numbers?
We do not. We may have an old job description, but I don't recall that it was pointed. If we were to hire a staff specifically just for cleaning, I'm anticipating we'd have to create a new description for that.
So that really should get done and then also pointed. I mean, either that or you just use the maintenance position and know that it'll be a little less.
Yeah, if they're strictly doing custodial work, but one of the efficiencies that we've had is having them do maintenance also. So that does get in two different areas kind of, but I guess that Alan would be able to figure that out when he calculates that.
Okay.
All right. Hearing no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, no opposed? Okay, so next, Personnel Committee.
Well, Madam Chair, did we need a separate motion to get a quote for contracting facilities maintenance, separate from cleaning? For the group that we have now doing the facility maintenance part.
He was getting that, I thought.
No, we didn't talk about that.
So you want us to look at contract with maintenance? I know that
Maintenance contract?
when we brought somebody in-house to do electrical and HVAC, we saved a dramatic amount of money.
A dramatic.
And I left that part out. I said, not those specialty trades, but I'm looking at the,
But then again, how do you're gonna still have to have, people around to take care of things when it breaks down right now. So
Well,
I'm not quite sure how you wanna deal with that unless we don't have anybody here.
no, like I said, the HVAC and electrician, we would keep as our own, not subcontract that service. But the other services that facility maintenance does, and I've read that job description, there's a lot of things that they do, but handy folks to do things other than cleaning, plowing snow, washing windows, cutting grass. There's a list of things in the job description that they do. And I'm looking for the contract price if we would go that route rather than in-house with that service, except for HVAC and electrician. So I would,
I don't know how you'd ever be able to separate that out. I mean.
which part?
First, to have somebody here to set up tables and chairs and move stuff around. No matter what you do, you're still gonna have to have staff around to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I mean, the plumbing, that's currently contracted out whenever it's necessary, so I'm not quite sure exactly, I mean, we're already doing, the mowing contracting. I mean, if there's things in that description, job descriptions that they're not doing, then that should get looked at and changed. But I'm still not quite sure what you want them to look for.
Well, the cost, if there is a savings to contracting, what do we have, about 10 people that take care of, that are Wright County employees that do facilities maintenance?
It takes care of how many buildings? I can't remember now off the top of my head. There's quite a few of them.
Yeah, the campus that's out there, plus the outlying shops, they make a sweep through
Well, outlying
highway
shops,
buildings.
I think that's called for another discussion. Are they doing something besides doing the bathroom and emptying the garbage? Because I think our highway staff could cover that at outlying shops with 3 or 4 people working there. I don't know what they exactly do. If it adds to the building count, what are they really doing? If they're making a trip, these are shops. You're not scrubbing the floor and not the same standards as our new campus
Not the
building.
same
Madam
standards, but
Chair?
they have to be cleaned.
I think this discussion's getting very, very into the weeds, and I think it's not time sensitive. We can push this to our February workshop, and we can really hone down and have those discussions about the outlying shops and all these other pieces to it. Just because we have another meeting after this, and I have another one after that, and we still have other items to attend to on this agenda, so.
Madam Chair, that's fine. I understand that. We got the cleaning part. The other part, we have people here doing, so there isn't a deadline on the contract.
Well, I know that, but it'd be nice to have the facilities manager
Yeah,
here too.
he needs to be here for
talk.
part of
Yep.
that discussion, so. All right,
Did we vote
so
on the other?
we did vote.
We voted
On the
on
cleaning part.
Yep,
the
okay.
cleaning part, yes.
Okay, so Personnel Committee. Mr. Glyden.
We met on January 12th, made a decision, and, no, actually, Jimmy Goodwin and Joe Puller were talking about our issues that we're having, sending out contract case management, how our current employees have a significant higher caseloads than any other comparable counties. And the one thing that really brought it to light was that these are completely funded by hours through the state. So our recommendation was to approve to hire 2 additional full-time employees to the waiver case management staff. And with that, I'll make the motion to approve the minutes and the recommendations.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner DeLeyden, seconded by Commissioner Ketchmark. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. The minutes and recommendation are approved. Broadband Committee, Commissioner Beth.
So last week, kind of a continuation of all the information that we've been compiling. So the Broadband Committee discussed next steps after we have our feasibility study. Staff did a great job of putting together a 3-phased approach. The first phase approach was to go after some is to offer some grants, local grants for some partnerships between townships, the county, and ISP providers to get some immediate service or expanded service in the areas. So the grant, we are hoping to have that consist based on a scoring metric, which is still in conception, but the idea would be that we would take into consideration the amount of contributions from the city or township, the contribution from a ISP provider, and the number of connections, the scope and size of the project, the time with which the project can be started and completed, and the reason that this project is best suited for this funding source would be some of the items that we'd be taking into consideration. We are looking to have approximately $1 million of the money that's already earmarked in the ARP for broadband is that first initial funding for these grants for broadband across the county. We also talked about phase 2 approach, which would be some county either owned or county implemented infrastructure. It's still high level at this point. We directed staff to move forward with getting some cost estimates and feasibilities of doing such a project and what the connectivity options would be with such a project. So the recommendations were to earmark approximately $1 million in American Rescue Plan funds for a phase 1 grant program to start grant application process, to direct staff to implement the online grant application forms with the anticipation of going live on this Friday, January 21st, and to have staff come to the February Broadband Committee with the conceptual plan for implementation of a phase 2 project, which will be a county implemented or county owned fiber infrastructure.
Before you make a motion, I just have a couple of little corrections. On the first page, the 4th paragraph down, the 4th sentence says best suited to access ARP funding, then it says under funding sources, but I believe it means other funding sources. Correct?
Yeah.
And then on the very last paragraph, the opportunity, it says for homeland fiber, but I believe it should be hometown fiber, correct?
Yep, hometown, yep.
Those.
All right. Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendations with those modifications to the language that you had stated.
Motion made by Commissioner Bash, seconded by Commissioner Lyden. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. They are approved. In the light of our time, and we've got another meeting that started 20 some minutes ago, so we will forego unless there's any critical updates we need from our committees. We can postpone them till next week. So if that's all right with everybody. All right. So thanks everybody for a good meeting. We're adjourned at 10:53.